but
well, if any of you guys want to come up, since we have a small group, we would greatly appreciate
this
it.
is going to be very unconference this session, because just us kids. How many of you have written or do write about medicine or medical things or biology, etc.? A lot. Okay. So part of the idea for this session was to try to interest people, the many science bloggers, the others out there, who in doing some medical writing and dabbling in medical writing, which we think is a little different, and you probably do too, or I'll be interested to hear your opinions. So since most of you are medical bloggers already, then we have to become the moles to infiltrate the organization. And no, I don't really have an agenda, but I just think that, I've written about all kinds of science in my career, and a lot about medicine. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Paul Raeburn. I write for mainly these days. Well, I write for lots of places. I write for the Night Science Journalism Tracker, which is my blogger ticket of entry to this meeting, and.
I'm Maia Szalavitz, and these days I write mainly for Time.com for the Healthland section. I'm one of the health bloggers there.
Sorry. And so I think the medical writing has some interesting aspects to it that are kind of fun and challenging. So we can talk about those and compare some notes and see where we're at. And blogging is a little different, as you know, from writing for other outlets and other kinds of places. So I'm going to just tick off. I just had a couple of bullet points that I wanted to mention to kind of get the discussion going. And as you know, the way the conference is organized this year, the idea, sorry, I'm getting invalid SSL certificates, which someday I may know what that is. But okay, sorry. So we're interested in not doing a lot of. I've already spoken too much, as you can see. I've already screwed up the thing. But we're trying not to talk too much, and so just throw out a few ideas so that we can all talk. So. One of the things that made me think about this was a couple of incidents. Charlie Sheen, anybody heard of Charlie Sheen? Who, as you know, as you can find out on the web very easily, you can find detailed psychiatric diagnoses of what's wrong with Charlie Sheen, hundreds of them by people who've never met the man. If any of you have had experience with psychiatric illness in your family, as I have, you know that making these diagnoses with countless visits and all kinds of input is extremely difficult often, even in person after many visits. So the idea that people, including, God help us, psychiatrists, would feel comfortable making diagnoses of people they never met, I thought was appalling, and equally appalling the fact that many journalists and bloggers picked it up and wrote it as if it was true. Same thing happened with Jared Loughner after the Gabriel Giffords thing. It was just about a year ago now. Drew Pinsky was one of the great diagnosticians of our time who was able to diagnose all these people long distance. What were you going to say?
Oh, the guy in Norway as well.
Yeah. That's right. The kids on the island. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah. So one of the issues with medical blogging that is often true in science blogging as well, but a little different here, is that the information is often blurry or muddy, or the evidence is partly there. We've got some data, but not enough to be persuaded. And so there's a whole richness of science and research there, and a whole richness of coverage in terms of how you cover those things and portray them accurately. There are also all kinds of prejudices and ideologies and things like any number of people who think that Ritalin is a bit of an old story now, but that Ritalin is an overused medication. All it's doing is improperly medicating kids who would have merely been called rambunctious in an earlier generation and so forth. Which might be true or might not be true, and that's our job to sort that sort of thing out. The other thing I was mentioned as a possible discussion point is the notion of false hope in medical writing. When I was at the AP some years ago, I got in the habit of putting in this, so I write a lot about basic biology, so experiments done in lab animals or small trials and so forth. The researchers say it will be at least 5 to 10 years before any of this can make its way into routine use. And I'd go in the morning and I'd have 6 voicemails on my telephone from people saying, my son has that kind of cancer, how can I get in touch with, that sort of thing. So that's a particular, when somebody raises false hopes about the discovery of an Earth-like planet around a star in the galaxy, people can be very disappointed when it turns out not to be an Earth-like planet, but false hopes for Kepler are not quite the same as false hopes for potential cancer treatments. So I'm going to stop there. I will give Maya 30 seconds because I used all our time. No, that's all right. So Maya will do the same thing to try to promote discussion.